homecoming week at Ball State University. Welcome to NewsCenter at 5:30. I'm Mandy Vandegrift.
And I'm Justin Brown. There are lots of events this week leading up to the Cardinals game against Toledo. NewsCenter reporter Laura Howell is here live with more on how we can support the win for the Cards this Saturday. Laura?
Thanks, Justin and Mandy. Many events are planned for this festive week. I spoke earlier with the General Chairman of events about needed support.
You can.
Ball State students, the faculty and staff to come together and really show their Ball State pride and the support that they give to Ball State University. And obviously we want to do that 365 days a year, but this is one week that's dedicated on Ball State's campus that we can all come together and show our pride and support for Ball State.
Evening, we have bungee run at 7 p.m. in the Field Sports Building. Tuesday, there will be the Faculty Staff Oktoberfest at 5 p.m. in Air Gym, and 9 p.m. Wednesday field hockey and spirit events, including the volleyball tournament at 4 p.m. Thursday, the rock climbing wall at 9 a.m. in Ball Gym and the Student Scholarship Talent Search. The royalty coronation at 7:30 p.m. in Emmons Auditorium. Friday, the bed race at 2 p.m. and women's soccer at 3 p.m. Saturday. The parade will start at 9:30 a.m. and the football game will kick off at 1 p.m. and after game will be the postgame. Celebration at 4 p.m. in the Alumni Center. And the week events end at 8 p.m. with this concert by Sandy Patty.
All right, thank you very much. Laura Howell reporting this evening. Well, Ball State's Dean of Students is having to respond to a letter this week about the rights of sexual assault victims. Victims' advocates fear that the University Police Department is not helping victims pursue criminal charges. A group called Security on Campus Incorporated says this violates victims' rights. They sent a letter to the Dean of Students with their concerns. Ball State has reported 1 rape since 1997. The group is concerned with the low number of reported sexual assaults. The Department of Education may investigate if complaints about the university police continue. And Rebecca Clark joins us now. It was a beautiful fall day today.
It was nice, sunny skies and clear, crisp, cold air outside. But let's take a look at our radar outside for now. If we can go to that, there's a line of storms moving in for the overnight hours, and I'll have the latest on the forecast in just a bit.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca, sorry. The anthrax scare has reached Washington tonight. President Bush confirmed that a letter containing anthrax was received in the office of Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle.
There's more tests being conducted as we speak. The leader believes it is anthrax, but we'll find out more as time goes on. They've got the letter. He said it was a letter that had been wrapped a lot, and that the powder was within the confines of within the envelope. It wasn't on the outside of the envelope; it was within the envelope. And a staffer opened the letter. They obviously became suspicious of the material within the letter, and immediately called in for a field test. The field test was done. It shows it to be anthrax, and then all people are being treated.
This scare, among others, has many Americans taking a closer look at their mail before opening it. New York City officials have implemented stricter procedures for handling suspicious substances. The New York NBC investigation is continuing tonight, as well as officials in Nevada await final test results for 2 of 6 Microsoft employees. 4 of the employees' results came back negative.
If you received a suspicious letter in the mail, would you be concerned? We went out earlier today to find out if Ball State students are worried about anthrax.
I don't think that it's a very large concern for me. I feel that just because there's an outbreak of a few cases doesn't necessarily mean an outbreak nationwide.
But now it's just getting all the media attention because they're worried if it's terrorists or not, this and that. They're looking for it. Before it wasn't like, ooh, let's go look for anthrax problems.
That I don't think the threat is going to be directed at any kind of place around this area. I think it's going to be more directed at places on the East Coast and West Coast.
Because I just got back from Florida last weekend, so that kind of scared me that it started down in Florida, but I didn't think that it was really going to be that big a deal.
State health officials have confirmed 20 birds have tested positive with the West Nile virus. Indiana State Department health specialist Margaret Joseph reports that the rates of highly infected birds have been found near Chicago. 8 of these infected birds were found dead also in Lake and Marion counties. Health officials stress that taking care of ponds, bird baths, and large amounts of water is important to slow the spread of this disease. The likelihood of humans getting sick from the virus is very slim.
Thank you, Justin. Coming up on NewsCenter at 5:30, Secretary of State Colin Powell is on a diplomatic mission.
That's right, and we'll also have the latest on the stock market, so stay tuned.
In East Central Indiana, there is only one place to turn for local news.
About 2 million Serbian residents.
Ball State has gained national attention.
NewsCenter 43.
America's
and Rule 7. We're okay on time now, guys.
Clouds begin to form.
Muncie only live TV newscast.
Reporting live.
Only live.
On Saturday as we go to the
An
highlight.
official CNN Student Bureau. CNN Student Bureau. NewsCenter 43, Monday through Thursday at 5:30 and 9:30 on Burrs Channel 43.
Taliban leaders hope to discuss a new offer with the United States, but were sternly rejected by President Bush. The offer included handing over Osama bin Laden to a third country if U.S. military action in Afghanistan was seized, and evidence providing bin Laden's guilt in the September 11th attacks. According to top Washington officials, there will be no negotiations. This evening, Secretary of State Colin Powell has left for Pakistan and India. The White House reports that this is a high-priority diplomatic mission aimed at keeping tensions between those countries from further complicating the U.S. military campaign.
India's army reports that it has shelled Pakistani military posts along the line of dispute in Kashmir.
The two countries have long been contentious neighbors and more recently uneasy allies in the coalition against terrorism. Maria Ressa has more.
Kashmir, the root of the conflict between nuclear powers India and Pakistan, who have fought 2 outright wars over it since 1947. India is pushing the United States to expand its war on terrorism to include some of the militant groups fighting for independence in Kashmir. When one of those groups, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, initially claimed responsibility for a suicide bomb attack on October 1 that killed 40 people, India's government faced pressure to take stronger military action.
The United States, I think, has read the signals from India quite carefully, and also it has understood the public pressures on the government here, and they have made statements in public in recent days to assuage Indian concerns.
Among those moves, to place Jaish-e-Mohammed on the list of groups whose assets the U.S. wants frozen. Britain went one step further and banned it as a terrorist group. Jaish-e-Mohammed founder Maulana Masood Azhar was one of 3 militants freed in 1999 in exchange for the lives of passengers of a hijacked Indian Airlines plane. India claims Azhar has strong support from Pakistan.
And in fact, while Masood Azhar was in Indian custody in the mid-90s, at least on 2 occasions, we had received requests for his release from the Pakistani government.
Still, for now, the attacks on Afghanistan have placed Kashmir on a back burner and may actually help force both governments to negotiate.
I think the West has asked him to do that, just as the West has asked us to not embarrass Pakistan at this very delicate moment by taking some unilateral action. And I think that both governments are playing ball on that, and that's what you're seeing.
Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf recently asked India to resume peace talks, which stalled over Kashmir 2 months ago. For now, like it or not, it is in India's interest to support President Musharraf. Balancing relations between India and Pakistan remains one of the biggest challenges the United States faces, an issue Colin Powell will address carefully in the next 2 days. Maria Ressa, CNN, New Delhi.
The Taliban is claiming bombs have killed hundreds of civilians. In response, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is calling Taliban leaders accomplished liars. However, he did acknowledge some Afghan civilian casualties.
General Myers mentioned one where we believe 4 civilians were the unintended casualties of a an errant missile or fire. Most of the Taliban activity has been shepherding journalists around to things they claim caused civilian damage.
Rumsfeld went on to say the U.S. needs to get the message across to the Afghan people that the war is on the Taliban and not directed at civilians. He also says American warplanes dropped leaflets to assure the Afghans that the bombing is aimed at ridding their country of terrorists.
A speed up for the destruction of chemical weapons has been organized by Indiana Senator Evan Bayh. Bayh and other U.S. senators are asking President Bush to destroy chemical weapons stored in 9 states as soon as possible. One of the sites includes the Newport Chemical Depot in western Indiana, which stores VX nerve agents. And let's take a look at what's coming up in weather. Rebecca?
Is it going to continue to stay nice?
Looks like some rain might be moving into the area, into the overnight hours, and I'll have the latest in just a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're beginning a new segment on NewsCenter at 5:30. Every Monday, we'll tell you where the stock market closed and what analysts are saying about where the economy is heading.
In the stock market today, the U.S. Equity indexes finished little change today, bouncing off earlier lows as the bioterrorism fears and chips-led tech selling that had plagued stocks most of the day eased up by the close. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 3.5 points to 9,300.5. The Nasdaq is down by 7 points to close near the 1,700 mark.
And we're looking forward to what's coming up in weather to know how those activities are going to go during homecoming.
Yeah.
How's that look, Rebecca?
If they're inside, everything will be okay. It looks like some
not a
rain
good
headed
sign.
this way, but sun by Wednesday. I'll have the complete forecast when NewsCenter at 5:30 continues.
As the United States continues to investigate random cases of anthrax exposure, Russia is keeping a close eye on its laboratories as they become fearful once again. CNN Moscow Bureau Chief Joe Doherty has that story.
In April 1979, there was an accident at a Soviet military facility called Compound 19 in the city of Sverdlovsk, now called Yekaterinburg. As this Russian television report documents, within a few days, people were hospitalized. They had extremely high fevers and difficulty breathing. Years later, the chief doctor still cannot forget one of those patients. He was still alive when I walked in, she recalls. A young man, we even talked a bit. Then suddenly, spots began to appear all over his body. He vomited blood and died. As more and more people fell ill, Soviet authorities blamed it on tainted meat. The Pentagon believed it was anthrax, secretly produced by the Soviets for biological weapons. More than 60 people died, but it would be more than a decade before the cause was made public, a military accident. Since 1972, an international convention has outlawed developing or stockpiling biological weapons. But Russia and the United States still have small quantities of anthrax and other agents for peaceful purposes, like making vaccines. Some experts believe Russia still has larger quantities of biological weapons that were never destroyed. The Russian government denies that. Here, in the Koldunova Research Center near the city of Saratov, chemists wearing protective suits develop vaccines for animals and humans against anthrax and other lethal diseases like the Ebola virus and smallpox. For the most part, centers like these are well protected, says one Russian specialist, but potential bioterrorists, he says, have many options.
There are even laboratories in some countries that will sell these microbes. You can simply tell them that you need anthrax for scientific research reasons. You can buy it on the black market. You can steal it. You can have a secret underground laboratory.
Experts here in Russia and in the United States say anthrax spores may be easy to obtain, but they're difficult to turn into weapons of mass destruction. The anthrax used in the United States, for example, targeted comparatively few people. Its biggest effect may be psychological, sowing fear among large numbers of people. Jill Doherty, CNN, Moscow.
And now we need to take a look at weather because we need to know what Ball State gear we need to wear to the homecoming.
For the football game?
Yes.
Well, let's take a look at our specific numbers for today. See if we can get those up there. Our almanac, the high, we topped out today at 58 degrees, right below the normal at 65. The low is at 54 for the overnight hours, and the sun will set this evening at 6:02, but it's going to be fairly cloudy out there. Not sure if you'll be able to see it. The highs around the state for today: Evansville, 67 degrees, warmest part of the state, Muncie at 58, and Indianapolis with 57 degrees. For currently outside, it's cloudy, 55 degrees, winds out of the west at 9 miles an hour, and our humidity is standing at 45%. Here's a look at the national satellite, the big picture, a huge area of clouds completely covering us, bringing with it a system that will affect us into the overnight hours. Here as we zoom in on the clouds, you can see they're pretty much just in the northern part of the state for this evening. The radar, where the band of clouds were, here's where the precipitation is for the overnight hours. And we zoom in, we can see it coming our direction, should be here within the next few hours, and especially into the overnight hours, with the potential of a thunder shower into the overnight hours. And here's tonight, it's a cold front with some precipitation and some low pressure right behind it. The lows for this evening will be sitting in the very low 50s, upper 40s for our area. Tonight, rain, thunder shower possible after midnight, the low down to 43 degrees, and winds out of the northeast at 12 miles an hour. When you wake up tomorrow morning, showers continued, 44 degrees, and winds out of the northwest at 15. Here's tomorrow's national map. The system continues just to kind of sit over us and spin, bringing the precipitation all the way into the afternoon. And the highs for tomorrow will be sitting in the lower 60s for our area. And for Wednesday, the big picture, finally, the system pushes all the way off to the east coast. Nothing, no precipitation for us for Wednesday under some high pressure and nice conditions. Showers continued for tomorrow, the high up to 50. Very chilly, so a cool down is expected with the passage of the front. And for your extended forecast, the sun makes an appearance on Wednesday, as I said, as the high pressure moves in. A cool down, though. But on Thursday, sunshine and back up into the 60s. And just a sneak peek into Saturday for your football game, looks like partly cloudy skies and 64 degrees.
That's not too bad. I like the look of the leaves falling in the fall, but the weather, I don't know, Rebecca. It's a little chilly.
Don't hold me responsible.
Okay.
I just report it.
Thank you.
And the football game is coming up, and more importantly, we had a nice win this past weekend.
Yes, we did against Eastern Michigan. We'll have an in-depth look at that game when we come back, so stick around. Sports is next. The Ball State football Cardinals came into Saturday's game 0-4 and the only winless Division 1A school in Indiana. But in their minds, they were 0-0 as they started their MAC West season against Eastern Michigan. Ball State jumped out to a 14-0 lead in this one, just as they did against Miami, and saw Eastern come back to tie it before halftime, just as they did against Miami. But this time, the Cardinals would not let it slip away in the second half, as Ball State wins their first game of the year, 35-14 over Eastern Michigan. NewsCenter's Tom Kozrowski has more on this elusive first victory.
For the first time this year, the entire Ball State football team finally showed up ready to play, something that hadn't happened yet this season. And they also won, which is something else that hadn't happened yet this season. Okay, so the defense didn't have their best game of the year, allowing the Eagles to pile up 353 total yards. The difference? They didn't allow the big play to slip through, forcing Eastern to punt 9 times, including 4 times from inside their own 20.
I thought the defense really, they got some sacks and they put some pressure. Played pretty well. But they're a good football team, and we knew that coming up here.
The defense also made key plays, recording 8 tackles for a loss and sacking Kainoa Akina twice. And it was Rockman Crable's gallop into the end zone that swung the momentum Ball State's way.
I don't think it was a pressure situation. I think somehow someone busted and just opened up a floodgate, and quarterback got hit, went down. I couldn't see it from my angle. Guys upstairs said that the ground caused the fumble.
The key to Saturday's win was an all-around balanced attack by the Cardinals. Talmadge Hill was only 8 of 23 on the night, but Marcus Merriweather's 173 yards and 2 touchdowns picked up the slack. And don't forget about Jason Teeters, adding a score of his own while giving Marcus a quick breather in the fourth.
This football game, again, the guys that cover Ball State, was very similar to our last 2 weeks anyway. Very, very similar. We didn't make the plays late in those games. The other team did and beat us. And if we didn't make them tonight, Eastern was going to beat us.
It finally all came together for Ball State on Saturday, and at just the right time. The Cards can take the momentum of a win into what is sure to be their toughest battle of the season next Saturday against the 23rd ranked Toledo Rockets. Reporting from Rynearson Stadium in Ypsilanti, Michigan, I'm Tom Kozrowski, NewsCenter 43.
And Tommy K will have full highlights of the game tonight at 9:30. The women's volleyball team put its undefeated record on the line against the Golden Flashes of Kent State, and we have the bad news in the form of a graphic. Kent knocks off the Cards in 4 sets to give the Cards their first MAC loss. The team rebounded on Sunday by knocking off Buffalo in straight sets. BSU will play Eastern Michigan Saturday in a 7 p.m. contest before returning to Worthen Arena for 4 straight home matches between October 24th and the 31st. And the brackets for the National League Championship Series have been set with Arizona's win over St. Louis yesterday. They will play host to Atlanta. However, the ALCS is still up in the air with a couple of Game 5s on tap. Right now, the Mariners are taking on the Indians, and in the bottom of the 7th, the Mariners lead the Indians 2-1. And later on tonight, Oakland and New York will get it on at Yankee Stadium. And that'll do it for sports.
Need to remind everyone the game this Saturday?
Yes, this Saturday, homecoming against 23rd ranked Toledo.
All right, thank you, Jess. And let's have a weather recap.
Sure. Rain moves into the area tonight, and tomorrow morning showers continued. By Wednesday, the sun appears and will be in the 50s.
Okay.
Great.
And stay with us, and we'll be right back after this.
And your 3-day outlook for the rest of the week: Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, cool down 54 degrees, and sun on Thursday, high of 60.
Thank you, Rebecca. Tonight on NewsCenter at 9:30, see how the homecoming week's kick-off events pumped up Ball State students. Also, get up to the minute trail on the America's fight against terrorism. Join us tonight.
And thanks for watching NewsCenter at 5:30. I'm Justin Brown.
And I'm Mandy Vandergrift. NewsCenter 43 is an official CNN Student Bureau. Be sure to tune in tonight at 9:30.